Okay, so here we go. We are going to do another November mid-month review. Erica, thank you again for jumping on. It's astounding that things just keep going. We're in the middle of some challenging conditions in the general public, but some unknown reason, the med spa industry and aesthetics industry does not seem to have any slowdown.
Hey, Matt. So thanks for having me on today. We are seeing that med spa leads and appointment bookings are actually higher than last month as we approach Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and today being National Botox Day. So we are definitely not seeing a slowdown. Some very exciting data too on some new accounts that just came in and who literally launched last Friday. The first one that I'd like to take you through, this is a client who is in North Carolina, and they're running two campaigns. They're running a Botox campaign, which is, pretty standard. That's your typical campaign to drive leads through the business. And then they're also running a laser tattoo removal campaign. If we look at the data, this particular client has only been running since Friday. Today is Tuesday. We have a cost per result of $4.84 for Botox, so 29 leads in 5 days. And then laser tattoo removal, which is, historically a more expensive type of lead, it's a narrower audience, has a cost per lead as low as $10, 14 results in 5 days. So we're super excited about that. And I think some of the reasons why we are so successful, not only is the market really hot right now, but the audience targeting is right on. There are so many interests that we have been able to capture with, regards to tattoo. And there's so many pages that have to do with those services that I think we've really been able to be successful for this client.
Yeah, so let's take a little break and discuss this. So a client coming in who, for all intents and purposes, signed up 2 weeks ago with us. They got launched within a week. They now produced almost 40 leads for about $280. And their reach is almost 9,000 people. Now, we know when we launch a campaign, it's going to get a nice swath of people that are going to be involved in the first cycle. So we have, a bunch of leads that come in. They're going to call these leads up. And of course, not everyone will close, but we know a good percentage of these, because it's Botox and they have a good offer, they'll probably take the offer and either decide to take it now or take it at some point down the road. But the goal here is that we went from 0 to 40 leads in 2 weeks for a client. So that's the reality that I think a lot of people have to understand, is that the markets are pretty ripe, and that if you're having challenges and you are complaining that you have no patients and you have no leads and you have no sales and you're running out of things to think about to do to get people in, and you haven't considered doing something like this, where you can start off, get someone who knows what they're doing. I think that's the most important thing. We see so many people who are quote unquote guessing. And I think that's when we end up seeing ads in the wrong place, low performance, because they just haven't figured out the interest infrastructure that we've done for years. But at the end of the day, if you're starting at 0 2 weeks ago, and now if I said to you 2 weeks from now, you're going to have 40 leads for your business sitting there, people wanting to come to your business, you'd think people would be jumping up and down. But it's hard to visualize this, because when we talk to people, they can't see the demand curves we see in the market. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So I think, people are nervous, but yet they need um, the coaching and the training with, what do we do with these leads once you have them?
Right.
Because delivering the leads is not an issue. We can always deliver the leads, but it's how do we work with you to capture these leads and actually bring them into your business and get them to spend money? That's the goal.
Yes, because leads don't equal cash registers ringing. What equals cash registers ringing is taking these leads and, as you said, running the patient journey with them. And that's all of our secret sauce, all of our follow-up mechanisms, automations, and calendar appointments, and call center ability that we have, so we can take people, they don't even have to book them. We'll book them for them. But the concept has always been the same, which is that they still have to close, they still have to do the work. And the ones that are really, working with us and these initial appointments when they first get set up, we make sure that they follow through and their team follows through, because, hey, that's a lot of extra work to do, right? So you have to think about that as well for the front end desk and the front people who might be working. They also have to be ready to take on some additional duties. And although you'd think that would be a positive thing for a lot of practices, it does create some activity that they hadn't had before. And, this is the sort of FOMO that we get, right? Which is that they get lots of leads, they have challenges with closing them, and then they blame it on the patient, right? The patient won't close. The patient doesn't want, they say they want it, but they don't want. Well, this is all sales process, right? Now we're talking about a whole other thing, which is that, these leads will come in, 1/3 of them will pretty much be closable easily by anybody. Then you got another third who are going to be in the middle, and then another third are going to be challenging. So I think you also have to think about the sway of having really good sales strategy, having your language down, following up mechanisms that, will, even if they don't respond the first time, you can get them the second time or third time through the system. Again, you're building a huge database. 2 months from now, when they have, let's say, 300 or 400 leads or 300 or 400 opportunities in their opportunity funnels, there's a recycling here, which is that these people come back in again. So the lifetime value of these clients, compared to $280 worth of spend, is probably, 40x of what you're actually getting. In immediate turn is probably going to be between 5 to 10x on that spend, but over time it's going to be probably 40x if you continue to market them. Anyways, let's move on to the next one, so we could talk about some more strategies. So we're going to go, instead of somebody just started with us, let's talk about someone who's been with us for a while and what they're delivering on like a 30-day basis, I believe, what we're seeing here.
Okay, let me pull up another one for us. Okay, so this is a long-running client. They're in New Jersey. They're currently running Cool Sculpting ads and Botox. And for this month in November, we have Cool Sculpting leads at only $13.73 a lead. Historically, any Cool Sculpting lead under $50 was a success at one time. So, $13 is just insane. So
Right.
that's generated 186 inquiries for that client just this month.
Right.
And actually, Matt, if we break down into the ad sets, you'll see 28 of those leads are also remarketing leads from Google.
Right.
So, we have hit the lead in two places. So if we have a remarketing lead that's, we have 28 of them at only a CPL of $29, that lead is at the bottom of the funnel. They were searching for the client on Google. We served them another ad as soon as they opened up their Facebook, and they closed right into the funnel. So you can see that cost per lead is 29, and then the other audience that we're running, which is just a local geo with interest, is running at $10.88. So huge success story for this client.
Right. And we know that attribution, and for those who don't know what attribution means, it means where the client started and where the client finished. So attribution, initial attribution, in this case, that injection, or sorry, on the original Cool Sculpting conversion lead, was in a search in Google where they went to the person's or the practice's landing page. They created an ability for us to capture that person's IP address on their browser, and then we could retarget them with Facebook, so that then they were able to capture that lead from an ad served to them on Facebook, because if we captured their IP address, we got it. They came through as a conversion. So the chances of this customer converting to a physical lead, coming in, converting, is probably 80% or better as a paid customer, because not only had they been they've been really deep into finding this person, finding this practice, finding what they want, and now they've been rebranded in another platform. So there's definitely kind a coincidence that they come back in, and so the attribution, beginning attribution was somewhere in Google. The final attribution for closing was in Facebook. It's almost like an inbound pass in a basketball game. So someone inbounds the pass to someone, but the other player dunks it, right? So you have to think about pathways of least resistance and pathways of best conversion and pathways of best cash. So that, not that the other $10 leads that are coming directly from Google, I mean from Facebook, are going to be, um, less per, uh, pervasive to close and to cash customers. But at the end of the day, we really need to think through the journey of the patient, and that the ones that are being uh, hit up multiple times tend to get a better conversion from a cash register standpoint at the end of the day, because they've just been basically convinced. And I think that's the difference, when you start to talk about 100 leads and maybe, 100 leads, 50 people book, and out of the 50 books, some percentage, 50%, turn into cash paying customers. On the other side, if they're coming from an attribution score where they've had high attribution, and then they're coming from a very experienced trust factor, they're probably going to be an 80% close. So your number might be $10 more per lead, but the lifetime value of that lead is going to be a lot higher, especially if they've gotten trust within the brand. So one thing I was going to say is that $2,500 is spent money for 187 cool sculpting leads is probably a couple $100,000 of revenue at the end of the day. And I think people have to realize that, if you do this right and you have a big enough database and you can market, and you've been doing this for a while, your market grows. And I think this customer is probably going to do another close to 400,000 this month with a single location practice, it's really impressive.
Yes. The one thing I want to add about remarketing, if you're running Google AdWords, anyone who's run Google, they know it's expensive. So if you have this remarketing strategy in place, it is such a great way to assist, like you mentioned, that close. The user on Google, they might have found you, they might love your site, but it's timing. Maybe they didn't submit the lead form at that very moment, or they didn't pick up the phone, but then they opened their Facebook later in the day and then they saw you again. And maybe it was a better time. So that's why the repetition is so important, and especially nurturing those leads who are at the bottom of the funnel, who are actually searching for your services. Those are the best leads that we can bring into your practice.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, probably the most important thing, which is when you're running ads and you're not helping those ads become more successful by adding in retargeting, and we see this as a failure point for a lot of organizations that we work with. You literally just leave money on the table. It's much like when you sort of go to negotiate for a car, and you don't know the price of the actual car, and you just kind of pay whatever you pay, where this is sort of a real way to see that the cost per lead can come down on both sides, because this works in reverse, obviously, from Facebook to Google as well. But more importantly, the tracking of all this and making sure you have it set up correctly. Just make sure you work with someone who knows how to do this correctly, because it's a 30% additional bump in your leads if you have it set up properly. We've seen that pretty much across the board. Why don't we take on one more solution that we're doing right now, which I believe is our discussion around gift certificates, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So, with Black Friday coming next week, um, gift certificates are one of the biggest things that we're seeing, especially from last year, clients having a lot of success with. We have built out these landing pages where you directly take them into the funnel, into the buying funnel, where they can check out online. Most of the clients who are successful with these offers, they're doing 20% off gift certificates, and they're literally saying it's their biggest sale of the year. And it's one of those things that generally pushes them over in revenue from the years prior. A lot of people are starting early this year. There is, with the landscape of people shopping online, um, Black Friday is starting earlier than ever. So I highly recommend that you get your offers on there early so that people will buy your offer before they buy someone else's offer. Very important.
Yeah. So I would say that of all things, um, you would be absolutely crazy in this condition of this planet we have right now, not having a very robust e-commerce strategy for Black Friday for gift certificates, because people are going to spend more of their money online this year than probably the last 2 or 3 years combined, because of the fact that there are a lot more restrictions and concerns about the ways that we do business and the ways that we go about our public uh, activities. I think, and I will probably make a recommendation here, that this particular customer may do $100,000 in gift certificate sales this year between Black Friday and Cyber Monday. I think because of the fact that there's so much, not just going to this landing page, but in total, with the fact that we're going to be running email, we're going to be running Facebook, we'll be running Google, we'll be running marketing campaigns. They did 60,000 plus last year. So that's probably a good indication that this year it's going to go way over 100,000. I just have a feeling it's going to do it. And the other thing is that if we start early enough, we'll have that trickle in. And I know some of the original customers that we already talked to that ran stuff last week are getting thousands of dollars of sales already. So do it. Don't wait.
Do it, don't wait, and then do it again on Cyber Monday.
Well, right.
Extend your deal, give people a last call. You'd be surprised how much money will come in on that very last day. So, don't give up. You have to keep pushing that promo, because sometimes the last hours you could have 50% of your revenue actually come in. The buyer needs a sense of urgency. They know they only have a few more hours. They're going to buy it. One of the other things that I wanted to mention why this particular customer has been so successful is because on our profit engine system, we are also able to text blast this offer. So people are either on their mobiles, they get the text, they click immediately, they check right out. They don't have to call the business and buy the gift card. They have it on their phone ready to go. So we've made it very simple to convert a sale.
Right. Okay, so let's do one more because we've covered Botox, cool sculpting, gift cards. Maybe we could do some laser hair removal or something a little bit out of the traditional setups that we've talked about so far.
Sure. So I will bring up this ad campaign. This is a laser hair removal campaign running in the Northeast. We have $21 cost per leads. So for $994 spent, this client was generated 47 laser hair removal inquiries.
Now, what's interesting about this is that, could you go into the ad sets for a second? I'm just curious on, just looking at one quick thing here. So laser hair is really interesting because to me, it's a good indicator of an adult business that's getting high margin, because laser hair tends to be a nice marginable product that doesn't necessarily need an injector, right?
That's correct.
Right. So at the end of the day, you don't, as the owner who typically does a lot of injections, as we find out, or the owner's nurse practitioner, this can be done by a secondary person in the office, and somebody who's not necessarily a doctor or what. So what ends up happening is that you can do something else while these laser hairs are being done, so you can double your strategy. So maybe just a couple of sentences on that, Erica, because obviously, look, cost per lead for $20. We know the general laser hair procedure revenue is pretty good. Maybe you could go through just a scenario of this to help maybe someone who's watching this understand.
So it depends what state you're running in.
Right, of course.
definitely dictates the price of laser hair removal. This particular client is running in New Jersey, where hair removal is generally done, by nurses or PAs versus estheticians. So they're commanding a lot higher price per service, and that's why a $21 cost per lead is acceptable to them in New Jersey. Whereas in other states, it may be lower, $5, $8, because we have estheticians doing the service.
Correct.
The CPCs are lower. The service ticket item is lower. But again, this is not a procedure that the physician has to perform themselves. So this is a great way to drive leads through your practice that you can sell all of your services to, and it will not take up the time of your main provider.
Right. And so in general, what do you think? I mean, I've seen it all across the boards. What do you think the general, if you took a median price of hair removal client, would be for a in cash register sort of charge? And I know it depends on how many areas you do and in how many
Sure.
variables, which places. But what do you see in general? Because I see it across the boards being $200 or $400. I mean, I see it all across. What do you typically see that in general? Just curious on your world.
I would say the average ticket value is between 6 and 800, and that client tends to be a great med spa client. Like they're interested then in IPLs, injectables. They're a very interested audience, so they're a great person to be driving through the practice.
Now, are you saying that from a total, just because I was thinking per area, and I think you're talking about like 3 areas at $600, which is probably about a common, I would think, you know, term on one of the laser hair removals.
So most clients are buying laser hair removal in packages.
Right.
If they're buying, let's say a medium area, if we want to go on average. So if they buy 6 sessions of a medium area, they are probably spending between 6 and 800. And the likelihood of that patient returning and purchasing touch-ups or additional packages is very high, probably 70 to 80%. So this
Yep.
client is a great lifetime client. They have to come approximately every 3 to 6 weeks for treatments. So this is another reason why I love to run hair removal over some other services. You have 3 to 6 times to capture this person to upsell them. It's
Yep.
not just a one and done. So a lot of opportunity on these leads.
Yeah, and that's a perfect example, right? Where we see a $20 lead turn into a $600 sale. And with good consistency too, if you're looking at trying to get margin out of your practice, if you're not doing if the owner or the main provider is not having to do this, it's a double win because then you can have multiple rooms running and you don't have the time. That's why we always say, hey, run a body sculpting, injectable, and then run a hair removal. If you get all those three running with really good low cost leads, you probably are in a very good spot to grow very quickly. So great. So this has been an awesome mid-November review. Erica, thank you so much. Again, every time we do this, I learn more. I mean, it's you and the team running the ads. It's just spectacular stuff. We have so many happy clients, and it's great to see stuff like this because it really does prove that this model, even through these times that we have, which are challenging or in some places, are restrictive, there are solutions, and you just have to work on it. And we're here for people. And of course, we can certainly say that we appreciate all of our clients, and they're great people. And again, thank you, Erica. We'll see you in the mid-month in December.
Thanks, Matt.